sign his oath of office, so welcome, Howard. And I guess he will do that.
Pleasure to be here.
Great to have you. And then I will open the floor for nominations for president and vice president of the PUD Committee. Is that right, Kay?
That is correct.
Okay, so is there any nominations for president?
I'll make a motion for Howard to be the president.
I'll second. Anybody else? All right, all those in favor of Howard Stevenson, president of the PUD Committee, state aye.
Aye.
Aye? All right, congratulations, Howard. Vice president?
I'll make a motion for Pete to be the vice president.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that passes. So we're on to item A, which really should probably go over to Howard since now he should be running this thing. But since I'm sitting here, I guess we'll go since we have one item. So Jesse?
I'll take it away. Scott, can you hear us?
I sure can, thank you.
All right. For the record, Jesse Boschel with Planning and Zoning. The item before you is PUD 21-6 is 13588 Bent Grass Lane. This is located at the intersection of 135th Street and State Road 37. Subject property is 2.11 acres, and it is just south of the Verizon Wireless. Let's see, we'll go full view here. This is the site plan. The petitioner is proposing a retail development, have 7 tenant spaces with a drive-through user on the north west corner there. The Fisher's Marketplace PUD allows for the drive-through use, so they are within compliance of that, and the landscaping meets our requirements. As you'll see here, they have everything oriented towards State Road 37 as well as 135th Street, with the service court at the northeast corner, which they will be incorporating kind of like a screening wall that will match the facade of the building, and will have additional landscaping as to kind of hide that area where deliveries will go in and out. The building materials being used here are hardy board, metal siding, brick, and stone. As you can see, just having the different projections, utilizing different building materials to break up the facade plane, as well as utilizing different awnings to add projection and modulation. This is the north and west elevations. This is the service court area I was speaking of, right here with the drive-through window, which will also block the service area with stacking. This is the south and east elevation. Again, they'll just be incorporating the brick, hardy board, and metal siding, and stone. The materials are neutral in color, which is resemblance of what is to the north of here at Verizon, as well as the daycare that was approved several months ago, so they are following on trend. Just to give you some perspectives, this is what it will look like if you were looking from the corner of 135th Street and State Road 37. As you can see, having the storefront at the front. Here is from if you were looking south, seeing the service court. Proposed structure meets the UDO standards, and the site plan meets UDO requirements as well as the Fisher's Marketplace requirements. As such, staff recommends approval. And the petitioner is on the line, Scott Kunkel with JSM Living out of Champaign, Illinois, if you have any further questions.
Okay. Scott, petitioner, you have any comments for the committee?
Actually, Jesse did a great job summarizing the project, so I guess I would just turn it over to you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions or address any concerns you might have.
I appreciate it. Any questions from the committee?
Are they only allowed to have one drive-through on that building under the PUD?
They're allowed to have as many as they want, kind of thing, but
Okay.
They are trying to gear this more towards like your Starbucks user, so it won't be your McDonald's or fast food oriented kind of user. That is something that we could discuss with them though further.
Yeah, I think from a practical standpoint, those kinds of fast food users aren't going to be interested in an end cap like this. They're going to want to stand alone. Yeah,
I have a
we
couple
haven't
questions.
we haven't seen any initial feedback from folks, in that realm. It's been the coffee shop kind of user that's been more interested in that location.
Sean, you got?
Yeah, I have a couple questions on the architecture. On the elevations, would be the east elevation and the north elevation in the service court area. The east elevation specifically, and then the north elevation where it's part of the service area, just look very flat and bland to me. I think that there could be some more done to those. That east elevation is, it's facing Bentgrass Lane. I think that's really going to be visible. So I'd like to see, what could be done on that side. And then on the north side where it's in the service court, I realize that it's going to be somewhat screened by that low wall and landscaping. But it just, that whole kind of corner, where that corner comes together, that whole part of it appears very flat and just kind of unimpressing to me compared to the rest of the building. And then question regarding parapet heights. It doesn't look like you have very much parapet height on the sides and front of the building, other than where it kind of pops up on the two fronts of the building. And it appears that you don't have any parapet on the two sides that face the service court. How is rooftop unit screening being accomplished, and has a sightline study been done to address that? Because that parapet appears to be very small, and if you're going to have anybody with any size rooftop unit, those are going to be visible from the road.
Would it be appropriate for a hop in at this point, or?
Sorry, you can.
Oh yeah, okay, great. I didn't want to interrupt. Yeah, I guess I'll just try to hop through these in order. On the north elevation, I think in part what might be going on here, and I'm sure you guys have run across this before, is elevations can be kind of deceptive because it makes it look like everything's in the same plane. In reality, they're not. So the left half of that north elevation is recessed, quite a bit relative to the main building itself. And there, between the screen wall and we didn't show it for clarity, but there's going to be pretty significant landscaping as part of that service court, which is going to really obscure most of that left half of the north elevation. And in addition, I don't know, Jesse, if all of the perspective views are there, but we did generate one perspective view where we sort of just blocked out the Verizon store, and that, more than anything, kind of screens the entire back half of that north elevation from traffic that would be on State Route 37. I don't know if that one's there, Jesse, and you could show that. I think it was the last image in our compilation of renderings.
Here you go.
So that gray box that's there, I mean, we didn't put any detail on it, obviously, but that's the footprint and approximate height of the Verizon store. So you can kind of see that, just from somebody on State Route 37 kind of looking at it as they're approaching the building from the north, basically the entire back half of the building on the north side is going to be obscured. On the east elevation, I think we're very open to adding some additional detail there. Let me flip back to that. What would seem to make sense to me, and maybe this would kind of help that sort of notation that you guys had on the actual kind of corner there where it turns back into the service court. Perhaps what we could do is reintroduce the contrasting hardy board material there, and create a little bit of a bump up in that wall segment there to kind of turn that corner, not unlike what we're doing in some of the other articulated facade areas, and that would provide a little bit more variety on that elevation, and also some in and out modulation of that. Our intent on the parapets is to have them tall enough to be able to screen the rooftop units. Because of how we're planning to have this broken up, we're anticipating a number of smaller rooftop units, probably in the 4.5-ton range for each tenant instead of a couple of large units, and they'd be pushed further towards the back of each tenant space, which when we did kind of just some very preliminary views, I think we're good in terms of the sight line from State Route 37, not being able to see those rooftop units. We would adjust those, if it was really working out when we got really fine-toothed on it, we for sure want to have that blocking it. As it's currently presented to you, we do not have a parapet across the back for the roof drainage, but if that's a preference of the committee, I'd be happy to extend that parapet around in that service court area, and then we would just have scuppers for the roof drainage.
Thanks for those answers. I guess my concern isn't necessarily what you're going to see from 37, because at some point you're going to be going 50 miles an hour and you're going to see the building. I'm more concerned with what you see from Bentgrass Lane and from the apartments, and so that is the east side and the service court side.
Got it.
So, the visibility of rooftop units from that side, from someone living in those apartments, or someone driving, 25 or 30 miles an hour down Bentgrass Lane, is going to be a concern. So yes, I would say that screening of those units on the back, I would say is needed.
Okay. Well, for sure, what we can do with that is extend the parapet around, and then if we need to tweak the parapet up another foot or two just to assure coverage, we'll do that.
Okay. Jesse, is there a foundation planting requirement?
Yes, there is.
The site plan doesn't really show any. It doesn't really show any foundation planting, so I was concerned about that. Especially along that east side, you've got essentially a curb in the building, and I realize that there's some site constraints here, but it looks like it's pretty much sidewalk.
Yes, so for the Fisher's Marketplace PUD, this meets that requirement. They more than anything have to have the trees and the perimeter landscaping to provide for that extra screening.
I think what we've done on some of the other properties or projects along 37 with those big open spaces is we've requested the public art along that area. And I agree with you from the side of Bentgrass, and if things start to develop on the east side of Bentgrass along 37, I mean, that's a large property back there. I think if it can't be accommodated with additional plantings, or again, maybe it's a change of materials, I like us being able to incorporate public art into some of those spaces with maybe some sort of mural. So I don't know if that's consistent enough to put in here, but just a thought I had.
Just so I understand, would one of the options that you, as a committee, would entertain is if we could increase the offset from the building, from the curb line on that east side, and then create some more deliberate planting along there? Would that actually be something that you would like to see? Because I think we have room to do that. I wasn't sure if I heard that correctly.
I think that would help. I think that there's probably still needs to be some differentiation of building materials or a change in articulation of the plane of that side of the building.
Yeah, and I'm happy to do both of those.
I don't have anything else to add that Sean and Megan haven't already added.
Yep, I agree. I do like some of the things that Sean pointed out, so I appreciate the petitioner wanting to take a look at those, and maybe even some color differential too, because they're pretty plain, right? I mean, even if you just put some other color palette in there to kind of break up the sides to give it some more aesthetics as you're going down there, as opposed to just kind of plain gray hardy board. I like the idea of putting the parapet all the way around, because I just like the way parapet looks on those buildings. I think it's going to elevate the look of the building as well. So I like that idea. I also like potentially limiting this particular development to just one drive-through if we move forward with that. I think that's a reasonable request, and I don't think they're gonna have a problem with it either.
No,
At least I
mean,
don't think so,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
So,
there's
yeah.
really no way for us, there's really no way for us to accommodate a second drive-through.
Right, and I didn't think so either, but since it allows multiple at some point, you don't want someone cutting a hole in the wall at some point in time, saying, I can add one, right? I mean, we've seen that happen too, so, you know, I just want to make sure that we probably capture that in our notes to go forward, it'd be my only thought, so. Anybody else? And petitioner seems to be okay with trying to take a look at the items which we've talked about?
Yeah, I have no problem with that
Okay.
stuff.
Well, seeing that, if anybody's got any other comments, I'll make it. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion with the consideration of the items that we've discussed for some additional review.
Okay? Second by Howard. All those in favor, please say by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Just this is our first development process with Fishers. So just curiosity, with the conditions that you've attached, is that something that we would just sort of confirm with staff for compliance, or do we need to come back to you as a committee?
Yes, Scott, you'll work with me on that.
Right.
Okay, great. Okay.
Yeah, we don't make you come back before us, Scott, if we don't have to have you. I'm kidding. So
No, I mean,
come back anytime.
I enjoyed our conversation, but if we could, take the next step, that's good too.
Yeah. So, all right, very good.
All right, all right. Well, thank you for your help with that.
Thank you. And I think that is everything we have on our committee, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We're adjourned.